Okay, so we're going to take some notes now on how to draw your own trend lines. And I'll give you two examples. I'm going to talk through what you might consider and what looks good and what doesn't look good. Those of you who are absent, you're going to want to print this off of the topics page. It'll be on there before I leave school today. Okay, so your job here is to get a trend line that does a good job of predicting the data, even if it doesn't touch every single one of it. Okay. Now looking at it, I'm going to draw some things on here that I don't want you to draw, just to show you what's not right. So for example, one thing that is not right is connect the dots. This is not how we draw trend lines. That is an acceptable way to draw graphs in some circumstances, but that is not trend lines. So in your notes you're going to write, don't play connect the dots. Get that in your notes. Don't play connect the dots. Okay? Instead, what you want is something that suggests the general trend of the data. This data is going up, and you want it to have about the right steepness. Okay, now what's another math word that describes steepness? Say it a little bit louder. Slope. Okay, but steepness is a good word. We all know what that means. We want it to have the right steepness. So I'm going to draw a couple of lines. I'm not going to put them in the right place, but I want you to tell me if they seem to be the right steepness or not. Okay, so look at this line right here. Does that seem to be the right steepness?
Oh, right steepness, yes.
Is it too steep, not steep enough, or just right?
I think it's just right.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move it and see if we can get a better idea about whether it's right or not. Yeah. Is it steep enough or not steep enough? Not steep enough. So we got to get the right steepness. That needs to be in your notes. Get the right steepness. Okay, and then also include the word slope there. Get the right slope. Okay, I'm going to draw another one, and you're going to tell me if it seems to be good or not. Is that a good steepness? Look up here. Is this a good steepness? No, because it's not even going the right way. Okay, this is decreasing, and the data that I've got is, so you've got to get the increasing or decreasing part right. That has to happen, and you have to get the right steepness. Those are the things that go at the bottom of your page. So the right, increasing or decreasing, and a good steepness. This sometimes requires you to do it, erase it, and do it again. And so that means if you're on the smartboard, no problem, you can erase it. But if you're working on graph paper, don't do it in ink, and do it lightly, okay? Because if you have to erase it and if you're one of those firm pressers, okay, it can be hard to get rid of what's there. Does everybody understand? Okay. Sometimes I actually even like to get a good steepness, like get outside the data. Like, look at that. That's perfect. Y'all see how that's kind of got the right shape to it, but it's not in the right place. Okay, so sometimes I can see my steepness better if I draw a light line sort of outside. So you can consider whether you want to do that. And then if I did, I would erase it, and I would try to get it in about the right place. Okay, now that looks pretty good. When we're doing this by eye, there is not one correct answer. When we get a computer to do it, there is one best line. But when we're doing it by eye, we just want to get a pretty good line, where people would say, oh yeah, that's a 9, okay? All right, so what I want you to practice right now is see if you can draw lightly a good line that suggests the trend of this data, okay? It needs to be straight, yes?
Oh, I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
I was going to ask if that one was top considered automarkers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Also, earlier, one of the other classes we talked about whether it has to go through 0. In some circumstances, there are some graphs that must start at 0, 0, but that's not true for general best fit lines. You do not have to go through 0, 0, although you can. All right. That's not exactly the same one I did before, but it's still a pretty good line, yes? Okay, this is visual. This is eyeballing it, and the only way to get better at it is to look at one and say, that's not very good, okay? And why is it not very good? So I'm going to show you one that's not very good, and then I'm going to tell you what's not very good about it, and I'll show you, I'll show you one that's kind of, look at that one. Okay, look at this line. It's not terrible, okay? But the problem is, when you get over here to this end, all of a sudden, it's too low for everything. Y'all see that? So it's lost the center. And what I would put on your paper is I would say, this graph needs to swing up over here just a little bit. Do y'all see what that's saying? Now, sometimes you might have to swing the other end down. This isn't too bad. I mean, you might swing that down a little bit, but it's this end over here that's not good, okay? Here's another one that I might give you. I've done on quizzes and tests before. People will draw this line. They'll say, oh, that's a really good line, they'll say. And my answer is, it's got a really good slope. It's got the right shape. But every single point is higher than the line. This line is too low. So my indication to you that it's too low will not have little curvy arrows. It'll have this saying, just slide that just a little bit. Do y'all see? Okay? We want to try to get into the middle of the points, some points above, some points below, and we need our slope to be right. Okay? Let's turn over to the second one. Take a look at this. Okay. Late.
Yeah, I'm so tired.
Okay, it is late, long day. Okay, all the sugar stopped wearing off this morning. Okay, so here's another graph, okay? And there's a decided difference between this graph, these data points, and the last set. Describe to me how it's different. It curves. It's a clear curve. You could draw a line, and you could say, okay, I guess that's kind of in the middle, but it's not very good. So we're going to do a lot of lines and a few curves. When you do a curve, I find curves a little bit harder to draw than lines. You have to kind of just let your wrists go a little bit. Like, try not to be so stiff about it. And you just have to kind of say, okay, I'm going to move as smoothly as I possibly can.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, and I'm going to miss a point or two and not get all bent out of shape about it. This time I happen to miss this point. It's a little bit out of whack. I've got a little lump right there. If I had been really smooth, I might have missed that point as well. Y'all see that little lump? But you have to kind of not do this. You can't do this. For people who can't see me, I'm being very stiff with my wrist. You can't be very stiff. You've got to give it a little bit of a light touch. And then you've got to be willing to look at it and say, I could fix that a little bit, okay? Like if I had this on pencil, I would have probably erased that little piece of it and made that a little bit smoother, okay? All right, so yes, that looks good. A little off at the top, do you see?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to do mostly lines, only just a few curves on the toes. I don't want there to be a series of straight lines. That's what I don't want. It should feel like a smooth curve. I do not want you to go line, 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 line. If they happen to all connect, that's good, but I don't want this to be connected line. I want it to be a little bit more smooth, okay? And some of the ones later on, you're not going to be able to make it as connected as we did this one. We're not going to do the next ones right now, because I want you to put a little space between me talking and you doing them. Is this one going to be a line or a curve?
Line.
Okay, everybody looking at it, number 3? I heard 2 people answer, line or a curve?
Line.
Line, okay? Okay, look at number 4, you're going to do a line or a curve?
Line. Curve.
I think I could probably take either one. I think I would do a line, okay? Line or a curve. The curve is good. So pick number 5.
Line.
Line. Yes? All right, look, here's the next one. On the next page. Okay, line or a curve?
Curve. Line.
It might, this is not considered a smooth curve. Okay, that is not considered a smooth curve. So those things actually do exist, but what we're looking for here is just nice, smooth, straight up, straight down, or curve up, or curve down. Okay, very gentle, easy. I think I would do a line on that one. I would just have curve. You see that curve? Okay, is that the last one? Okay, so set that aside as part of your homework.
Part of it. It's not good.
This is farmer. Okay.
I have so much homework.
And Wiley.